Welcome, everyone, to Chirping Zebras, episode 11. I'm Mark Riley alongside Gino Benda Jr., and we're coming to you from AOA Studios, the premier place to record a podcast or a album or anything you want. Our sponsors, Referees Crease, as always, our platinum, our NHL level sponsor, which is our highest level. Also, we have Moby Cuts, our favorite barbershop here in Beverly. And tonight we're joined. So we've had ex-referees, right? We've had Dougie Schmidt, the Goon.
Yep, who was a player and referee.
Player and referee, but mostly player, mostly Goon. We've had Jimmy Dunn, comedian. And tonight we have a coach and a general manager, Jordan Smotherman. Yeah. I fucked up your name, and that's not fine, even first time. I got all time.
Way better intro than last week.
Yeah, it was actually. Jordan Smotherman. I'm so used to calling you Smoothie, talking to Josh and setting this up, and that was in my head. I didn't want to say Jordan Smoothie. GM and head coach of the Worcester Railers of the East Coast Hockey League.
That's me.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Zebras. First coach ever.
There you go.
First coach ever.
So, episode 11, first coach. I'll take it.
Hopefully this won't devolve into us yelling at each other.
I have gotten much better in my 2 years as a coach. It's not as bad as it was my first year, so it might not get there.
Yeah. Now, you've only been coaching a couple of years.
Yeah.
And you played right up, like, I looked into your past, and not creepily, and I didn't realize that you stopped playing and went right into coaching. Yeah. It wasn't like you coached for a while and then ended up with this job. So your first coaching job was minor pro hockey, which is pretty cool.
It was, yeah. It was a whirlwind. I finished in 21, 22, playing with Worcester. Then the job opened up, and I ended up taking it and starting last year. And it's been a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. So what's the thing you find most challenging as a coach, especially coming right out of playing?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, the first thing was I played with a bunch of guys that I was now coaching, guys that had seen me in states that you wouldn't normally see your head coach or GM and out at a bar on George Street in Newfoundland.
That's a great place, by the way.
It is a great spot.
I was going to say,
I love Newfoundland. All the guys up there are the best.
That's one of the best trips you can make. But so managing those relationships was a challenge. And if I'm being totally honest, it probably got in the way a little bit last year. Some loyalties to some guys for a little bit longer than maybe I should have at times, things like that. Kind of stepping away from being their friend and their teammate to being their coach. I'd say that was the biggest challenge last year, making that step right away.
So like I kind of feel you. I'm doing the same thing, right? Like I just got off the ice. I just been reffing with all these guys, similar thing, right? Kind of a couple stories. I mean, me and Sweeney had some stories on the ride home from RIT, just laughing our ass off. It's the same thing, right? Like friendly relationship. I mean, I grew up with this kid my whole life, and, he was just, hey, you got to do the final. But not because he's my best friend, it's because he was one of the best guys. Yeah. And then at some point, I'm going to have to make a tough decision. And I'm going to have to end up, cutting them at some point or whatever. And those are tough because you do have those relationships. Like, how tough is it to bench a buddy that a good friend of yours? Like, hey, listen, you need to sit down, but it's for the benefit of the team.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it was hard to hold guys accountable because I wasn't doing that as much as I should have been. This year's been much better when it comes to that stuff. I also kind of cleaned house from that because it was an issue. I think there's one guy left that I played with. Good. He's our captain, but that's the only one.
Yeah. Now, you were the captain your last year playing.
I was.
Now, did that help the transition, or did that did it not matter?
I think it did a little bit because I had, somewhat of an authoritative voice in the room throughout the year. And guys looked, I mean, I was, 35, 36 my last year playing. The closest guy in age to me was, 28, 27. Then we had Bobby Butler.
I was going to say Butler,
yeah. At the end of the year, he came in for 20 games. So he was the only one that was close. But that age gap kind of helped a little bit with it. But again, it made my first year really, really challenging.
Like I remember in the American League, you see like a lot of the NHL guys come down and they'll be captains, and the next thing you know, they're behind the bench as an assistant coach, and now they're the head coach. Like Leach, I saw do that, and like all that kind of stuff. It's just interesting to see the development because like they're looking like 2 steps ahead. Is that something like you had in the back of your head? Like eventually, hey, I want to coach. Did you like put the bug in their ear, or did it just kind of naturally progress?
It kind of naturally progressed. I mean, I had a weird year I think it was 3 years prior to that. I had a minor heart surgery. I was playing over in Germany. They found a minor problem. I ended up losing my contract there because of it. Had to come back, have surgery. Joined on with Manchester Monarchs in the coast, kind of to do my rehab stint. I played 20 games with them. Ended up going back over to Sweden for the end of the season. We ended early, and they were still paying me, but the season was done. So I came back and I approached Manchester, said, hey, would you guys bring me on as a volunteer assistant for the rest of the season? And probably had maybe 10 or 15 regular season games that I was on the bench for. And then we made a run all the way to the conference finals that year before losing to South Carolina in Game 7. So that was my first taste of it. And that was when I had kind of decided, this is for me. Like, I really like this. And so that's when I started to try and network myself to eventually find myself in that position. Yeah.
Now, we should mention, you had a long playing career. Drafted by the Atlanta Thrashers, right? Back in 2005?
Yeah.
See, I did my research.
Yeah.
I wasn't bullshitting.
Yeah.
Fourth round, right?
Fourth round.
16th overall.
116, that was me. Yeah.
Look at that. See,
Oh, we can Google.
I can, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
They teach you how to underline in college.
But you had a long playing career and a pretty successful one.
Yeah, I like to think so. I made it to the highest level. I got to play 4 games in the National Hockey League. Not a lot of guys that can say
No,
that.
that's awesome.
Got to score a goal in my second game, sitting in half my gear, get sent down immediately afterwards. But I got there, so I can't complain.
Right.
But no, I loved my career. The better part of 16 seasons, something like that. 5 in the American League, and then the rest of them over in Europe, and then two full seasons in the coast.
Cool.
Now, you didn't play college hockey. You went right from the Q to Atlanta?
Yeah, I went right from the Q. I signed my entry-level deal, and I was in Chicago for 3 years with the Wolves in the American League.
Now, how was it playing in Chicago? Like, that was an interesting place to play, to say the least.
It was. We had wagons my first 2 years.
Oh, I bet.
Our teams were unbelievable. The first year.
Was that the run they went on? Yeah.
Yeah,
All the Calder Cups,
my second year we won it. My first year we probably would have if we didn't run into Carey Price in Hamilton in the semis.
There you go.
But we had some guys. It's how we had. My first year, we had Darren Hadar and Jason Krog were on our first line.
Yeah, I remember Hadar. I repped him there. Yeah.
Nico Dimitrakos, Corey LaRose, a couple of main boys.
Nico, yeah.
So we had really good teams there. And that city was so much fun to play in and live in. And that organization's incredible.
Oh, it's a great little area. Yeah. I love, that's where we always stayed, right by the airport right there. It was perfect. And there was a lot to do. Love Chicago.
Yeah, I never did a game there. Never did a game in Chicago, but been there. And it's a cool city, but.
Like when you had a Wolves Rockford game, it was
Jesus.
fucking. You knew you were in for a night. Really? And I had the game. The kid that crawled across the carpet and fought somebody. It was like.
Yes, I've been involved in a couple of those there. Actually, it's a dangerous building for that. The distance between where the guys come on the ice is about as wide as this ring.
Right, and it's just like 2 mats, and they can both come out of the Zamboni end. Right, so everybody, both teams walk out and they skate out and they're yelling at each other in the hallway, and it's just all cement in between them. So you can only walk.
I've thrown a garbage can at a guy across the mat in Chicago before
like I said,
coming off after a fight. It happens.
It's like you walk in, you're going to expect some shit to go down.
Yeah.
Something's going down.
I think did you referee when you played? Did you guys?
Yeah, we've definitely crossed paths.
Yeah, we definitely crossed paths at some point. Yeah.
But there was nothing memorable that you would hold a grudge about.
Mm-hmm.
Later in my career, I was much more calm in the later stages of my career.
Yeah.
What kind of player were you?
That would depend on who you'd ask. Early on in my career, nobody could really tell me. I was a 3rd line, 4th line grinder. I was a PP top 6 guy in the American League, depending on where they needed me. And then when I went over to Europe, I became a goal scorer. And that was kind of the role I filled up until the end of my career. Played tough at the beginning of my career and then realized that that was not very much fun. Getting punched in the face and punching people. I lost a knuckle and plenty of scars from all those. So I thought the finesse game would be a little bit more my style.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's Europe like as far as the difference between playing here in North America and then going over to Europe? What's it like? The crowds, the game itself, the whole thing. Is it that much different?
The crowds are unbelievable. I mean, anybody that's seen a European soccer match or football, whatever you want to call it over there.
We call it soccer.
Yes. I think I'm going to stick with that too. I'll get yelled at by some friends over there, but I'll take it. I mean, they've got the fan sections there. So you play in some buildings, you go to Berlin and play there. They've got, 7,000 people in a standing room only section. You got about 2,000 of them with their shirts off with chest paint on, David Putty style. And you got a guy in the front with drums that's leading the chant the entire game. And it doesn't stop. They're jumping up and down together. It's an electric atmosphere to play in. So on that front, it's hard to match. And the closest thing might be like a Cornell game.
The Big Red, yeah.
Like that student section atmosphere is kind of in every building over there.
That's probably one of the coolest barns to work in. It sold out Cornell with the band. They're one of the best bands in all of college sports, right? And you go there, and it's the best. They get the newspapers, they're out. It's a scene.
I grew up, and my dad worked at Cornell, did some research there, and we used to go to those games all the time.
That's
when I was
awesome.
a little kid. It was unbelievable. That student section is the best atmosphere of college hockey, I think.
Yeah,
that was a fun place to go up and do games at.
I was just up at RIT. They did a good job there. The Connor crew up there. It was pretty good for the finals. Yeah,
and they got the automatic bid.
They did. Yeah, they beat AIC. Great hockey game. 5-2. Yeah, a couple empty netters though. It was like 3-2 hockey game.
Yeah, and they were opening up against BU, right?
BU. Yep.
Wow.
Out west, Fargo.
Matchup.
Yeah, it'll be a tough matchup.
Team. They're fun to watch.
They are.
Hockey team.
That won't be fun for them, I don't think.
I'll tell you, the RIT goal, he can put up. He can stand on his head. If he has a good game, And RIT, they're very old, so that experience does help in those tournaments. So
they're all like 25.
Yeah, pretty much.
So the 26-year-old fifth years that are married with babies already and still going to school.
The student athlete.
Worried about a mortgage payment, a child support, and my history class. That's
my recruiting sometimes. I got to ask those questions now. Guys coming off their fifth year, it's like, are you married? Do you have any kids? These are college kids you're asking these questions to. It's nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's nuts. So now, because obviously we're Chirping Zebras, your thoughts on refs, and feel free, but and I guess it's kind of a too general question, right? Your interaction, like what kind of ref do you like? What kind of ref can't you stand? And you don't have to use names. We will, but you don't have to.
For me, a ref that communicates. If something happens on the ice, if he comes over to the bench and I ask him, what'd you see there? And he responds with what he saw, I can't argue to that, but at least he came over and had the conversation with me.
Right.
It's the guys that when something happens on the ice, that won't come over, they won't look at you, they just ignore you. Those are the guys that drive me nuts.
Yeah.
Now, my first year, I understood. I was not calm on the bench. I had no relax at all when anything would happen. I'd lose my mind. I wouldn't come over and talk to me either.
Right.
What kills me is this year I have been very fucking calm. In all situations.
He says that like he's about to say.
because this is the one thing that I wish that they, and we get them all the time. I gotta be careful what I say. Obviously, I get fined by the league now if I'm not careful. And I do think
take it easy on him, Joe. Take it easy on him.
As far as the ECHL standard goes, this is one of the best years I've seen. We have had a really good year this year. Guys have done a really good job. There are a few outliers here or there where guys, have had off nights. But I'm when I lose my shit on the bench, it's with reason now.
Yeah,
and I would like them to recognize that and at least come over. If I'm losing, it's probably because I'm right. I saw it the right way. And I'm also not opposed to, if I didn't, I'll go back and watch it on the video. I'll come out and be like, I'm an idiot. Sorry about that. That's my bad. Yeah.
It's funny you say that because the coaches that I always, you said they never yell. Like the ones that never yell and the ones that do when they did, right? The ones that never yelled and when they did yell, you were like, oh fuck, I definitely fucked that one. Right?
Yeah.
And then the ones that yelled all the time, it's like, dude, you're arguing balls and strikes. Like enough. Like, will you just let it organically happen? And I guarantee you it will happen in your favor at some point in the night.
Yeah, we always talk about how communication is one of the, if it's not the most important, outside of skating, obviously, it is one of the most important things as a referee to be effective. And, I always tell guys, like, if there's a big collision at the blue line and it kind of probably looked like interference and coach yells, I always say at the next stoppage, you slide over and you go, hey, coach, I had a look at that. From my angle, it looked like a collision. And then usually that 10-second conversation eliminates that frustration and that whole thing. Now, I know college hockey typically doesn't like referees talking to coaches anymore, which I still don't understand.
Well, no, that's not true. I think we're getting away from that. I think a lot of leagues now preach a communication and good communication. That was the big theme for us. I felt like the coaches, I wanted the coaches and the referees to have that, mutual understanding of each other, right? open the dialogue, be able to go and approach and be approachable, right? Not standoffish. And sometimes, like, I don't want to talk to you because I don't have the right answer, right? or I don't even know the answer, right?
Come over and make it up, though. That's the other thing.
Oh, I do.
If you come over with conviction and you're like rule 46B states, I'm really gonna be like, I don't fucking know. Like, yeah, 46B, he's got it. We're good.
I told Quinny one time. I told Dave Quinny one time, right? He was coaching in Cleveland. I go, I'm 99.9% sure. He goes, you need 100, and I was like, well, I'm going 99.9.
Well,
and I was right though.
We had one this weekend when he comes over. He goes, both my linesmen had it 100%. I go, 100? I go, that's pretty sure.
Yeah,
like they're pretty sure. I go in the locker room. I look at the video. I come back out. I go, you might want to check their 100. Like that's
I wasn't right. I wasn't giving you everything.
If you give me 99.9 and that's that 0.0, that 0.1, I'm all right. Whatever. He left room for error. Yeah.
So a coach sent me a video from where the referee was, the first clip. You're like, that's a hold, and then from where the bench was, you're like, oh, that's embellishment, right? So like, like he's losing his freaking mind, and you're like, well, that's a fucking hold. Like, what's he yelling about? And he's like, it's dog, and I'm like, well, I didn't see it. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Now, are you guys mostly two-man in the two ref system?
Two referees, two linesmen.
In college, yeah, okay. So we have kind of a mixed
bag.
It's like 33% of our home games are supposed to be 4.
I didn't like it as a referee. I like the one-man system personally, and if I was going to do it, I hated jumping from one to the other. I like either doing one or all.
I like the two because it's hard to see everything, especially at our level. The ECHL, it's a development league. They're young players, but it is for the refs as well.
Right.
So it's harder for them to always be looking where they need to be. Like, guy cycles a puck. He's got his back face to the board. Somebody's skating at him. Ref's going to follow the puck in our league right now.
Right.
When he probably should keep his eye there for a second to see if the guy's going to get run.
You always watch where it came from.
Yes.
Stay connected to the play.
Yeah. But if you've got the extra ref out there, those things tend not to get missed as much. It's a little bit safer environment for the guys. So I always prefer the two ref system.
Yeah. I think going from
especially at that level
3 to 4, because when I came up, it was only 3-man, right? So, but going from 3 to 4, I find when you're doing 4, you can get kind of like lazy, right?
Yes.
But when you're doing 3 and you're the only guy out there, you have to be
laser focused,
right? Yeah. And you're so aware that. But then if you jump to 4 and then back to 3, I wouldn't like that at all. Like when I was working, I wouldn't. Now I love 4-man because I'm old and
I got more confused. It took me more of an adjustment period in the 4-man system than it did in the 1-man system. So like when I jumped from 1 to 4, it took me a little bit to adjust because it is different sight lines. Skating's a little different, but 1-man, you just go.
Yeah.
And you just.
Well, I think skating too, like the more you skate for me, the more I was into the game. So in 3-man, man, you had to skate the building, right? In 4-man, you have to skate, but it's a different feel. It's a different, and you can kind of get that if you're not skating, you're not as engaged in the game. So that's the tricky part.
Like I worked the American League for years, 1-man system, and it was like then they had the 25% 4-man, then 50%. Then towards the end of my career, it was like 75, 80.
Well, back in college, and when I did the ECAC, it was 3-man.
Yeah,
it went up and down.
They're also training these guys for the American League, the National League. Yep. It's 4-man.
Oh, 4-man.
So you kind of want to train them there, and I know there aren't enough guys. That's the problem. That's the reason they're doing it right now in a limited quantity is because they just don't have enough.
Now, are they putting the former player referees in the East Coast League, or are they just sticking them in the American League? So
we haven't. I don't think we've seen any. We had a linesman. I think play for Jarrett was his first name. I think he was the first one I'd seen that had played somewhere.
Okay.
He would have been the first one that I've seen like that. But no, most of those guys have gone directly to the American League.
Right.
I think Jordan Samuels Thomas is one of those guys. He played in Worcester.
Yep.
I think he's doing games in the American League.
Oh yeah, yep.
But we have
a whole bunch. Yeah.
Now we were wondering, and if we can make this happen, which I think we could. Would you be opposed to Gino and I coming out? Well, Gino would have to come out of retirement. I'm pretty much semi-retired. If we came out and did one of your games as referees, mic'd up for the podcast, and
I don't make those decisions. You got to reach out to the league on those ones.
I can
guarantee to be a non-league.
I'm going to say it's gonna be a quick no.
You'd have more power plays. I know that. Than
maybe a preseason.
Yeah, maybe preseason.
The preseason in one of those the
I
state
believe
rinks.
we control the preseason refs to a degree. So
okay,
it's
not
possible.
for nothing though. We'd be better than anyone in there right now. Come on, even with our elder states position.
I'll probably pull a
Right?
groin, a hamstring.
No, you won't skate that much. Come on, we'll have you do an Aldo system.
Oh yeah,
Just stand there.
I've never seen a referee. My uncle Aldo ref one of my daughter's games U8,
Yeah.
and he's notorious not to move. And I never seen anybody get in the way of a U8 girls game in my life. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, how are you getting in the fucking way? But we digress on this
He comes
podcast.
Aldo comes up way too much
I know.
on this podcast as what not to do.
Right?
Anyway, we joked about that earlier. Like, imagine if we came out of retirement and just went, out of East Coast League retirement.
I'm going to say that's
Did a
going
game.
to hit one league official's desk, and they're just going to kind of slide it off. to the
We got
side.
some
But
stuff
That's
on.
Joe right
I was just going to say,
there you go.
we got some stuff on Joey we can
Yeah.
use. But,
He was another one that came right off the ice and went into that position. Yeah.
Yeah, I work with Joel. He's
Yeah.
actually great to work with.
Oh, he's phenomenal.
I every time I do typically have to work with him, it's some sort of supplementary discipline thing. But
Right.
he's
not a
he's,
good call,
he's,
yeah.
he's usually pretty good about it though. So
yeah.
And you see Mr. Kelly at all?
he usually pops into the coaches meetings.
Nice.
That's kind of the only time that I've run into him so far. Yeah, he seems like a really good guy.
He is the best.
Yeah, really good guy.
Nothing like golfing with him.
Yeah, well, we got training camp. Every year at training camp, we'd play a round of golf. And yeah, he would always play. And then a couple times he had us over the house. Like if you're in Charlotte and you have an off day, like they'll have you over, you cook the pasta and all that. It was awesome.
I'm pretty sure
Couple glasses of
he
wine.
played a round of golf with the coaches that got into town early enough. We couldn't find a flight they were in Greenville this year. So we couldn't get there in time, unfortunately. But no, I've heard awesome things about him.
We played TPC Charlotte right after it wasn't even open that long, and Coho had a connection. Someone was
Of
a
course he
chef or
did,
something. I don't know. He might have been. I don't know what the
one-
connection
he's
was.
He's one of my all-time favorites.
He's the best.
He's one of my all-time favorites.
The best. And it was Johnny O'Brien, myself, Mr. Kelly, Coho. Trying to think if there was a fifth. But we played TPC Charlotte and for the donut too, which was even better. And talk about a day. That was awesome.
So speaking of Coho, you work with him in the American League. So it'd be like a Wednesday afternoon down in Hartford. And like the first penalty call, like he'd be so fucking pissed off. He'd be like, right? And I'd be doing.
But that's if he called the penalty.
Yeah, that's
That's the real big thing with goals.
Let's put it this way. We had three of them in that game.
Yeah, that guy set records before they even instituted the quick face-off. He was reffing 2 hour and 15-minute games in the early 90s. He was
Yeah. I'll never forget in Raleigh one night. We had the night off and he was in doing the game. So we went, we were up in the stands watching. He comes tearing down and right as the play goes across the blue line, drops to his knees. He slides and spins, so he's not in the way of the line. It just pops up and goes to the goal line. Oh, I wish we had video back. Well, we did have video, but I wish we had, cell phones
Right.
back then. Well, maybe not. But I wish we did for that moment anyway.
But yeah, the players would always be like, "Hey, what kind of mood's Coho in?" I go, "He's pissed off tonight, boys." And now you just hear it echo down the bench, and we'd have like 2 hooks in a hole to get out of there.
Oh, the best thing is when you get a rookie in one of their first games and it'd be Coho and they'd say something to him and he would eviscerate them. Those guys would leave the ice feeling like they should have never started playing hockey in their lives. He was notorious for that. He was also like, you'd be skating up the ice. You'd hammer a guy with a baseball swing in the back of the legs 3 times. You go, "One more time, I'll call you." You do it one more time, he goes, "You called my bluff." And you keep going.
It checks out.
Yeah.
That checks
Oh, he's
out
a legend,
100%.
man.
He came over to Germany.
Did he really?
Yeah, so when I was over there in 17, 18, they brought a couple of refs over like mid-season to help with their officiating. He was one of the guys that came over. I was blown away to see him.
Oh no shit!
I get out there for one of the face-offs. He skates over. He's like, "Hey, Smo, how you doing? Fuck are you doing? What are you doing here? You can still skate like this."
Such
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Yeah, you always knew you were getting to the bar early when he was reffing
yeah.
the game. It was going to be a quick
Yeah.
one.
Well,
Yeah.
we never left the locker for a couple hours. He was usually 30 pack in there. Leaving Portland, Maine, we would always have to pull back into the gas station and refill.
He is the best.
Yeah.
Now, do you talk to your players about the refs? Like, I guess a more pointed question. Like, do you, say to them, hey, this guy's
So and so
reffing
tonight, right?
or watch your mouth with this, or if they start getting on them, do you tell them, hey, shut the fuck up, let me handle it?
We've got a really good room this year for it. And I don't know if it's anything I've done to condition them, or if it's just we have guys that focus on the game. They don't get into it too often with them. You tend to learn who the sensitive ones are in the group when it comes to the refs, and there will be times before the opening puck drop, like, hey, leave him alone tonight. Like, he doesn't like to talk. He won't take any of it. Leave it be. But they're pretty good. They stay focused. Like, even when I'm losing my shit, like, I'll lose my shit at the ref and then very calmly just kind of whisper to the bench, like, hey, boys, I'm not really that mad. I'm just trying to make a point, and then start screaming at the guy again. So I think that helps a little bit. But you get the scouting report on them. As the year goes on, you know who's going to communicate, who's not going to listen to the guys, who's not going to come anywhere near the bench if anybody in the team's saying anything to them. So, yeah, you'll give them the heads up every once in a while.
And as a ref too, like, when like a coach is sticking up for his team and when he's like really pissed off at you too, right? Like, well, yeah, I mean, the good ones do though.
Well, that's a learning process.
Right.
You got to learn that sometimes coaches are just yelling to fire the boys up or prove to the boys, if you're getting run out of the building, you got to keep fighting so your team doesn't quit. And I found I coached a JV team at Thayer for a long time, and my daughter's team, all throughout her playing. And the problem, at those levels is the guys don't understand. Sometimes I'm just yelling just to yell. So my boys, and next thing you know, they're like, oh, you're like, listen, you want to always say, listen, jackass, I'm just yelling because I'm trying to get the boys going, or get the girls going. And, but that's a learning. That's something that you have to learn. We talk about it all the time with the younger refs that,
Well, I always thought one of the best things I ever got out of any of those like camps I've gone to was a coach's perspective. Like, they brought in Seth Abbott from RPI. He was in Denver at the time. They just won a couple of championships. Then he went to RPI as a head coach. And like, he came in and talked to the group, and he said communication was one thing, and and just be honest, right, and give an effort. That's all they're really looking for, and to understand from their perspective, right, and that kind of stuff was very interesting, and just how they look at the game and look at referees.
Yep.
The only time I really lose my shit is when I'm concerned for a player safety moment.
Yes.
Guy gets run from behind, guy gets an elbow to the head that they don't see. That's really the only time that you lose it. And I think that's kind of the understandable time.
Remember that Terrier headshot? The one I put up was one of the Monday nights that there was no call on it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was, the coach lost his mind. And there was a couple of times with this particular referee, and he was like, I'm concerned for my player's safety. Like, it's nothing to do with, it's safety at this point. Like, there was just a complete headshot and nothing was called. And then a couple slash, this, that, a couple things lead up to things, right?
Right. Well, that's the thing. You missed that violent one. Next thing you know, the players take it in their own hands.
Yes.
I say, like we said it, I think we talked about it last week or the week before. I think that's happening in the NHL a lot more. Mm-hmm. They're letting that cross check from behind go where the guy gets knocked into the boards head first. And it's not a major, but it's enough that should be called.
Well, the Marchand knee.
No call. The Marchand knee was terrible.
I didn't see it. I just heard about it. But
it was awful.
Yeah.
It was a major all day. I don't know. Did you see this one?
No.
Knee on knee. I mean, it was, and I just don't know how no one saw it on the ice. And it was absolutely a major. So Marchand gets up, starts yelling and screaming. Next thing you know, he's sitting in the box for the unsportsmanlike. And
well, that's all.
But it's like if a guy's yelling at you like that, right? And I know Marchand has his, he has a reputation. But if a player starts flipping out after a hit, chances are something happened.
Right.
And that's when you want to slide over and you go, hey, what happened? I didn't see it. My bad. What happened? So you find out what happened. So you don't just put him in the box. Now, if I'm him, I'm coming out and I'm two-handed someone.
Right.
Because I'm pissed off that you're not protecting me. And I think it's happening more and more where guys.
Well, let's put it this way: the Bruins have nobody that's tough that can go out and do it right now. Like they need. Well, they got Maroon, right?
Well, they got Maroon, but he's still on the shelf for now.
And when he's stick handling the puck square, but it's beside the point.
Well, he cries a lot because he's stick handling like he's chopping onions. But that's beside the point.
I do find that one of the common comments that I make on the bench is you had a chance to avoid this. Like, this is on you. You could have avoided all this. When things start to deteriorate in the game, there was a moment 5 or 6 minutes earlier where one call could have been made that would have ended it. We had one a couple weeks ago where we score an empty netter to go up by 3. and there's a scrum with and the game had gotten really rough at that point. There's a scrum with a minute and 48 seconds to go, where clearly their guy came flying in, started the whole thing, and he evens it up. And he comes over to the bench. I'm like, I don't care if you give us the penalty or if you give them the penalty, but give somebody a power play, the game will be over. Because the best players are going to go on the ice. Nobody wants to mess around. It's going to end it. The game's already over.
Game management.
If they score on the power play with 30 seconds to go and it goes 4-2, but nobody gets hurt, great. But you've just evened this up, and you've also left the guy that started this on the ice to go do it again.
So he didn't even get a penalty.
No, he was not the guy that did. So that is the one comment that I do find myself thinking a lot. Like, you could have helped prevent this. Like, you had an opportunity. But again, it is at our level, it's a learning league. And once I kind of came to that conclusion behind the bench, I'm learning as a young coach. My players are learning as young players. These refs are doing the same thing. Yeah. They're not out there trying to make mistakes. They want to call a good game. They want to do things the right way. They don't want guys getting hurt. And once you kind of realize that, you calm down quite a bit.
So, we run a bunch of junior leagues, and one of the comments from a couple of owners, they're like, I'm like, this is development league for the players. This is amateur hockey, first of all, right? And he's like, I want my referees. So I got 18, 19, 20, so I got some 16-year-olds out there reffing. But they're all amateurs too, and they're all learning. But they're growing, right? They let these kids grow within the league and grow with the program. It's just like coaches, right? Like, you got assistant coaches, and they help you, right? We got a referee in chief, we got supervisors, and you got captains, you got leaders on your team. We got veteran referees out there with these young kids, right? Same type of development path that you guys are doing. And that's how you grow the league and grow with them. And that's the answer to that owner's question that's going, how come we don't get the good question? Well, there's not enough friggin', how many junior teams do you have in this league? There's only so many good referees first off.
Too many these days.
And you need to develop.
It's nuts.
Too much rock.
It's so watered down too.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's gross.
Yeah. I love the fact that you brought that up, because I always joke about the Mark Riley referee handbook, page 58, I think it is. If the game's over, right? It's 3-4 goal. You find a penalty on the winning team within the last 2 minutes, so that everything calms down and everyone gets out of there, because the losing team puts on their best players and their power play. They still think they have a chance, which they don't.
Yep.
And the home team, the team that's ahead, ices the puck. Puck keeps moving puck, happy puck, and then you get the hell out of there without a problem. It's it's so freaking simple.
Until that one time you do call that weak penalty, it's 4-2, and then it's 4-3. Then the floater comes in, and next thing you know, you're in overtime and they lose, and you're like,
well, that I addressed that on page 73.
That's another game flow thing.
Yes.
The team's good enough to come back. Maybe you don't do it.
No, I'm talking 3 or more goals.
Yeah.
When it's over, right? But that could happen.
It's happened.
Oh no,
it happened to us once this year, so I feel it.
Yeah, right.
Yep. No, you take that chance, I guess, but you usually get out of there unscathed, right? And
you guys as well. When that stuff goes down, the refs are just as even more risk than the players. You guys less padding and
Well, I always say, why make the job more difficult on yourself? And that's what a lot of guys do when they're learning, or even these guys, like some of these guys that are in the NHL, they make the job more difficult on themselves, because that the other night, giving Marchand that penalty, all they're doing is making him pissed off, and now the whole temperature rises and everything goes. So it's why make your job more difficult? Right. If you have an escalated coach, go over and de-escalate. And if he doesn't, then you have the rule book to back you up to address the situation. Chances are he's going to de-escalate if you go over and talk with him, right? It's why make it more difficult? Take the path of least resistance, right? And I don't understand why more guys don't do that. I really don't. I guess I'm just smarter than everyone else. I'm kidding. I'm not. Close.
These are jokes.
Yeah.
He's a comedian.
Right? Now, what you play all over the league, right?
Yeah.
East Coast. So what's your favorite place to go to play away?
So there's a couple of good spots actually. Charleston's.
Charleston's.
Charleston's
Ding, ding, ding.
fantastic. Everything. That city.
Ring the bell.
That city's
That's
unbelievable.
our favorite.
Yeah.
As a ref, that's our favorite place. The building's incredible.
I got a taste of that year I came back and helped coach in Manchester. We ended up playing in a 3-4 series because you guys, the buildings always get messed up for playoffs. And so we played 3 home games down there, but we played a game, had 4 days between games, played a game, had 3 days between games, played a game. So we had like a full 9 days down there. It was like 8 or 9 days that we were down there.
Wow.
That hurts the liver.
We had a good
the wallet because of golf.
Yeah, we had a good young coaching staff, and so we had some fun down there. I got myself invited to a random wedding. I went straight from the bench in my suit to a random wedding.
It's awesome.
But that city is an absolute blast. That one's up there. Anytime you go down to Orlando or Estero down there for the Everglades, like those are great places.
I love the
to go
Everglades.
mid-season.
Yeah.
We just
season.
had a 14-day trip down there. Did not go so well on the hockey side. Unfortunately, we went 1-5. But we also lost 3 of our top scorers in 2 nights, and one of our better defensemen separated.
Craig Brush still down there? Is he still involved?
I believe he is. I think I heard that name a couple of times
Right on,
down
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Me and him bumped heads a few times.
Yeah. But there's some good stuff. And then out west, you got like Idaho. Boise's an awesome town.
Boy, it's great.
Boise's great. You got Hump and Hannah's over there, where you always run into the refs after a game.
Oh, yeah. You can wear your suit.
They've got their spot over there.
Yeah.
That's
They used to have the
city.
West Coast Hockey League used to play there. The Steelheads. Because when I was doing the Western League, they sent, when they sent us out, they sent me to Boise first, do a game there, and then I went over to Seattle. And what a great place.
Yeah, great city, great atmosphere too. They sell out like every night there.
Yeah.
That's a good place to play. We had the chance to go out there. My last year playing, we played out there for 3-3. It was a really good time.
Now, do you New Orleans does? I'm all the teams are different than when I was there. Like New Orleans had a team. That was always a fun trip.
They're not in the league anymore. Lake Tahoe's coming in the league next year. They're one of the new teams coming in.
Is Utah
They're still they're in the coast as well. That's a good place.
I liked going there. Yeah.
I've got family there too. So
Right on.
I actually got a Thanksgiving there. When I was playing in Manchester, we were out there for Thanksgiving, so I got to see my aunt and my cousins. My mom flew out for that trip too. So yeah.
Talking about playoffs in the hangover playoffs when you're in the middle of it, they flew me from Alaska down to Utah for 4 days. They were like, "Well, it's cheaper to fly you right there and put you in a hotel than back and forth, and so you're just going to stay in Utah for 4 days and open it up on Friday." And I'm like, "Great,
all right,
4 off days in Utah."
You spent a lot of time studying the Mormon religion, correct?
Yeah. You walked right down to a liquor store every day, grabbed my 12-pack, came back.
As long as you got there before like 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, or they got weird liquor laws.
Weird liquor laws. You got to be members to the bar next door, all that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you had to sign in and shit. Yeah. You had to have food. There's all sorts of weird, food with a drink. And
It's Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never actually. That's one of the 5 states I haven't been to is Utah.
You're not missing much.
No, I don't.
Nice sights though, like the mountains and shit are cool.
The national parks, all that, like Bryce Canyon. You got all that stuff.
I did some sightseeing there.
Yeah, I got to get out there. What's the worst?
Oh, am I allowed to say? Like, you know what? They're not in the league anymore. So Elmira, when they were when they were in the league, that place was awful.
I hated going there.
That place was terrible.
Really?
No fans, no atmosphere.
Steve Martinson was the coach there when I was there. Okay. Oh my god.
Yeah. That place that had to be on the list. A few places in the league now that I'm not a huge fan of going to. A few places that I wish we didn't have to go to, but no, that one. Well, again, they're not in the league, so I'll pick on them a little bit.
I love St. John's. It's awesome. You guys get to go up there.
Yeah, that's a fun trip. We only had one trip up there this year. But so it's funny, as a player, loved it. As a coach, you hate it.
Really?
Yeah, you know your guys are going
exactly.
You know your guys are going out.
You'll lose a game too. Yep.
And no matter what you tell them, it doesn't matter. You just finish a 3-3 up there. You're flying to play somewhere on a Wednesday. You got
to chalk it up as team bonding that weekend, right?
You do. The first weekend, yes. The second weekend, you go up there, you get out of there as fast as.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And the only problem with going there, the travel's always miserable. Something always happening. You're always fogged in. There's a 40-inch snowstorm that hits. There's always something.
So I had the worst flight ever, but I was passed out for it. So I was with Ryan Hersey.
Shocking.
Yeah. So you take I always went through Halifax. It was actually a great flight and connection. So I always went through Halifax and right up. So there was a hurricane coming up the coast. And when we came in, we landed sideways when we came into St. John's. And then when we left, like we went from the bar to the hotel to the airport. So, typical. And
that was the standard routine. When you were playing, that was it. Yeah.
Like you don't go to bed.
It's always the 5 or 6 a.m. flight out too. Yeah. It's always the first flight in the morning.
And you only go to the hotel just to get your stuff.
And you always pack before the game. You always have to have your shit packed because, you don't want to go back, whatever. So you just go grab your shit and go right to the airport. It's perfect. And I passed right out. And I guess Hershey he was like chalk white. We get off the plane. I'm like, well, what happened? He goes, what do you mean? He goes, you weren't shitting your pants? I go, no. He goes, dude, like we were bouncing up and down. I was like, passed out the whole time.
We got a couple guys on our team this year. 2 guys that they are terrified. I mean, have to change shirts because their pit stains are down.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's bad. So you gotta always watch out for those guys. The day after you fly, they're still feeling it sometimes. It's nuts.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, you percentage-wise, flying bus, what's the percentage?
We are the most spoiled team in the East Coast Hockey League. We fly a lot.
Really?
Our owner takes he really takes care of our group a lot. He does an incredible job.
That's good.
So we fly a lot. We'll bus to Maine. We'll bus to Glens Falls. Sometimes to Reading. Sometimes we have flown down there. That's like a 6.5 hour bus ride. So he spoils us pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah, I lived in Reading in the Coast League. Yeah, great little spot.
We were just down there for a 3-3 this past weekend.
The Royals.
Yeah,
great bond too. I like that rink.
It is a pretty nice. It's dark though.
It is dark. It's wicked dark.
The seats are dark, and on the one end they've just got a big black tarp.
Yeah, that's what I kind of liked about it. I think it was
I couldn't play there as a goalie. It would drive me nuts. Anytime the puck goes above the glass.
That's true. Yeah.
How they track it. Yeah.
So, now one of the things that everyone who ever played hockey, the bus rides are the best part, right? I mean, well, not the best part, but like that bonding and whatnot. And as a player, as opposed to a coach, how different is it for you? What's
great question.
Like? Bus rides are a lot longer as a coach.
Yes,
I'll sit in the back. I could sit in the back of the bus for 12 hours straight and play cards when I was playing.
Right
now, I got to sit with my computer and cut video for the 12 hours that we're on the bus. I do enjoy it. I'll say it, but it's definitely more fun to be thrown.
You don't have an intern for that yet?
We don't have interns for things like that in the East Coast side. You know what? We spend the money on taking care of the players. We do all the hard work on our end. So.
Yeah, that's kind of how I do the same on my end of things. Like I'm cutting shit up and screenshotting and putting an iMovie and sending it out, voiceovers, all sorts of shit.
They say that that one of the most profitable sports teams to own is an East Coast Hockey League team. Back in the day, they said that. Now, I don't know if that's true. They used to say that was the not only the most profitable, but the safest entity to own in sports because your costs were low. And if you had a good spot with good attendance, you were making good money. I don't know. It might not be the case anymore.
I think from what I've heard, there are definitely some teams in our league that do very well. I think we do pretty well in Worcester. I don't know any of the numbers on it. But there are some teams that do very well. Fort Wayne, they sell out a big barn often. Toledo has to do really well. They sell out
that building's really, really nice. I worked there the first year it opened, and I hated that place. The only reason I hated the ice. The ice was so soft. And I just didn't like working there. Awesome building though, incredible building, great minor league building. But for whatever reason, I didn't like working there.
The ice has got to affect you guys almost as, if not more than affects us. You guys are on it for the full 60.
Yeah. Like the Springfield rink, awesome rink, soft ice. Your legs burn after
especially
even in the full
system.
Yeah.
In the 3-man system, it was like if you got bad ice, you'd get it down south a lot. In the beginning of the season or late in the season, like Pensacola and Mobile, those kind of places, and the ice would be so soft, and you'd work and you'd be working like a half, the effort. You had to put in 150% effort to get that, your strides and everything.
I remember opening weekend one time down in Norfolk. We went out obviously a couple Friday, Saturday, second night. And Tommy George is, fixing divots in the ice. Yeah. I'm like, I need to breathe again.
No, you always knew the slow rinks as a player too.
Oh yeah.
Like
right?
anytime I go into one of those buildings, like and I played heavy. I was the most in shape guy. So I'd always tell us, you got to be smart tonight because you're not going to be moving.
You
very
weren't Joe
quick."
Whitney.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, the old divot in the ice would get you the timeout. I used to tell my goalie when I was coaching, I'd say, if I yell your full name, first and last name, you got a strap issue. Or you take your helmet off and stop playing with it because we're going to get ourselves a timeout.
Did you guys not have the media timeouts back then?
Well, we're talking high school. And like
yeah,
my
they don't have.
daughter's
They don't.
team,
Okay.
like you 16 and you 19.
There's no media timeouts.
And of course, no media timeouts.
Yeah.
And I would get an extra 4 or 5 a game, and only very few refs knew what I was doing. And and if they did, they come over and I just smile, and they luckily, they gave me the break, but it's an easy way of getting an extra minute and a half for your penalty kill or something.
You got to see the Worcester goalie now. It's fixing the straps.
Just yell the first
he's
and last name.
He's gonna be sitting in his crease with his heel going like this, treating the divot to fill.
And the first and last name, you were calling their name. It wasn't like you were yelling the Eagle landed.
Yeah, right.
And messing. You just yell the name, the full name.
He's gonna
and
get
all of a sudden, they're out. Come on, fucking. Just act like you got major problems, and that you can't. You're not gonna, especially with my girls' teams. It's like the refs, they weren't gonna bust their chops too much, so you get like a minute and a half, 2 minute timeout. I'd tell them to come to the bench.
I figured there were a few tricks as a player that they put the out of play rule in, the delay a game rule.
Oh yeah,
it was never delay a game if it went into the other team's bench.
Right.
So I just I almost killed poor Ben Guite my last year playing. But we're playing Maine at home. I guess it was like a 2-minute shift, and they're just running us around the zone. It's a loose puck in front. I skate like 15, 20 extra feet to get to this puck. I just turn and rip a snapshot about this high directly into the visiting team bench and just skate right to mine. I'm like, yep. And then 2 games later, we're up in Maine. I do the same thing, and I skate by their bench like, we know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah. Even the ref came over. He's like, you can't do that. I was like, it's in the bench. He's like, I know you're doing it on purpose. I was like, prove it.
Right?
Prove intent.
Right. Yeah.
Prove intent. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you, a mind reader?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm getting a rest. I'm out of here. Yeah. So yeah, I've talked to my guys. Yeah, you get real tired out there. Yeah, just throw it in the other team's bench. Not ours. I don't need to get hit, but throw it in the other team's bench.
Fight with the other coach.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, one of my guys is going to do that. He's going to get suspended now. So maybe you guys can edit that out.
Hey, it's a legal play.
Yeah.
It's a legal play.
Unless you do it the way Tom Sestito did it in Hershey when I was playing in Syracuse. He skated off the bench saying, I'm going to shoot one in their bench. And he got a breakout pass at the far blue line. He just stopped, turned, and took a slap shot.
He was fucking banana cakes. Tom Sestito. Timmy was nuts too, his brother.
Tom, he was tough though.
Yeah, he was.
He was a big boy too, and he was tough.
He was huge. Yeah. Like, I don't know why you'd want to fight him.
He could play too.
He was a really good player.
Like 15, 20 plus. If I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was somewhere in that like 15 to 20 goal a year guy as well.
Yeah, he could play and throw. Yeah, he was intimidating. Like he was fast. Throw his weight around. Yeah.
Yeah, he was probably just like a couple years too late to have like a huge career.
Did he?
He had it between the ears, though. I don't think he had it between the ears to get it to keep his head focused and straight. I don't know.
Yeah, well, he'd come back to the bench after incidents. He'd be
just smile.
He
knew what he was doing.
Looking and smile. Yeah,
he was smarter than all right. He's smarter than he let off. Then right on. Yeah. Okay.
Did he get a penalty for that?
I do believe he got in trouble for that one.
Oh, he got suspended. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's that? Unsportsmanlike?
Attempt to injure?
I go
attempted murder. Yeah.
Attempted murder.
Yeah.
Parole after 3 periods. You jackass. I'll never forget when I was a Bantam, and my father was our coach, right? And he was not a fan of referees. I mean, he said they ruined every sport. Even when he watched me do pro hockey, he traveled me to Wheeling, the game I did that was 3 overtimes. And after the game, I mean, it was one of those games. It was like forever. I couldn't walk. And after the game, I go, what do you think? He goes, you guys ruin every sport. And I was like, cut the shit. But anyway, long story longer, this kid, Frank Stapleton, was a defenseman. And my father out loud goes, it wouldn't be a bad thing if the ref got hit by this puck. And sure enough, Frank went out. He stops, right? He's like, got a slap shot when he shoots the puck up to the organ player.
Oh, yeah.
Stops, turns, and fires the puck at the ref. And my father was like, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about by accident. Frank goes, well, I thought you wanted to shoot it at the puck. And he ended up getting a penalty. My father actually got in trouble too. And he was like, I didn't tell him to do that. But
Well, you did.
I always think, technically, but I always think of that story whenever I hear anything like that. I think of Frank just
Oh, that's
stopping and
awesome.
turning and rifling it. And then when I became a ref, I was like, I'd be pissed if a kid did that. Back then, it was kind of funny. But yeah, that's pretty wild.
That is wild.
So, as a former coach, what forecheck you like to use?
We got our own secrets on ours,
All right.
but we like to be really aggressive.
All right.
Whether some people would look at it and call it a 2-1-2, we refer to it a little bit differently in our setup, but I like to be aggressive.
Cool.
As long as your guys are disciplined to get back above after they're aggressive. At our level, I think the more pressure you put on guys, the more turnovers you create.
I play D. I love pinching. Like I always, man of body, you got to get puck a body. Get one or the other.
Yeah.
I realize now I'm asking you things that you might not want to discuss.
Not in the middle of our
Tell
playoff push right now. I can't let any of the secrets
Yeah,
go.
secret sauce. Keep it
I
in.
won't ask about the defensive zone positioning. I was a boxing one guy, but what's the where are you at right now as far as that playoff push?
We're in an insane race right now. So our division top 2 spots are locked up, but 3 through 7 for the last 2 playoff spots are all within. I think Reading dropped a little bit because we beat them a couple times this weekend. So I think it's like 64, 62, 61, 60, and 59, something like that. So the 5 of us are locked, and we play 3 games against the 3 teams that are currently either tied or right in front of us.
No kidding.
We have 3 game sets against each of them coming up. So some very exciting hockey in Worcester over the next 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, and those are all 4-point games, really.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So we've got Newfoundland coming up. They're 4 points ahead of us. But we play them 3 times: Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Maine, who's a point ahead of us, the following Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we're up in Trois-Rivières, Quebec, who is currently a point behind us with a game in hand. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it'll come down to the wire. It has the last 3 years for our organization. We missed my last year playing. We missed the playoffs by an overtime goal in the last game, and then last year we needed a win in regulation in the last game and had to pull the goalie, tied 3-3 at the end of the game, and ended up losing 4-3. They scored on the empty net.
No kidding.
Yeah, so it's come down to the wire each year for us. So
Wow.
3rd time's a charm.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. So this
Thanks, guys.
and how many? So the top 2, and then one of you will make it out of the.
Two of those,
Oh,
two of
those
the bottom
teams.
5.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
cool.
a top 4 in each division in the coast.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha. All right. Cool.
Playoff hockey's the best time. Best
Oh,
time
yeah.
of year. Nothing beats it.
unless it extends 3 weeks into your regular season, and then it's a
Yeah,
little
right.
early for it. But the guys are having a good time. It's going to be a lot of fun.
No, that's awesome.
Playoffs is a grind.
Now, how do you guys draw there in Worcester?
We do pretty well.
Yeah.
We've done really well this year. I just talking to my COO over the last couple of weeks. I think our single season day of tickets have almost doubled this year.
Wow.
Most of our specialty nights, we got a big one coming up this weekend. Our military appreciation night is one of our biggest nights. We've had up to 9,500 for that night, I think.
That's awesome.
We're probably somewhere in the 4,000-ish range, 4,500, I think, something like that. And then we have our specialty nights where we have our version of a DCU sellout. They've actually blocked off most of the top, so their sellout's just over 5,500, I believe it is. And we've had a number of those this year. So it's been a good atmosphere for us.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's
I
a
always
really
like
good
working.
numbers.
Plus, it was 45 minutes from my house.
That's,
For sure.
that's why you
Yes.
like the most. Let's be honest,
Yes.
right? That's and there's nothing better than this last. What do you got? About a month left.
We had 9 games.
Oh,
So
9
April, I want to say
So
maybe
it's the
April
second weekend.
14th, I think
So
might
all
be.
Second week in April,
nine
usually, yeah.
games are against.
All 9
I mean,
games left.
that's
Yep.
that's super cool.
And
You're already in
was
playoffs, yeah.
12. So we just left Reading. They're one of the teams that's in the mix, and we took 5 or 6 points off them down there. So that was a huge weekend for us.
Wow.
And so yeah, it's been nuts.
That's the way it should be, though, really.
Yes.
I mean, when you think about it, at the end of the season, you should be playing those teams that potentially could be, for playoffs or
it screwed-
seeding and
It
whatnot.
screwed us last year.
Really?
So Adirondack was the team that ended up passing us and making the playoffs. And we played them, I think it was 9 of our last 10 or 11 games. We played just Adirondack. And at that point, they had really turned things around. They were the hottest team in the league. So we're coming into it. We had been dropping from the beginning of the season, and we come in to play the hottest team in the league at the end of the season, and it worked out for them, not so much for us. Yeah.
Well, this year is a different year.
It is a very different year. We got a different crew, and it's going to be our year.
And you learned from last year too, right? So, yeah, exactly.
Now, we should have probably talked about this back when we're talking about communication, but bench minor penalties.
I haven't gotten one yet.
Really?
I tried. Yeah, I'm not going to look. I tried so hard. We were getting smoked in a game last year. One of my guys got run. I tried so hard to get kicked out of that game, and he just ignored me. And it just fueled even more to the point where it was a solid, and I won't use his name, but it was a solid 2 minutes. And, the crowd's dead because we're down like 5-1, where he's skating up in the ice, up and down the ice. I'll call him Bill for now. I'm just going, fuck you, Bill. Fuck you. And I'm standing on the bench. It had to be a solid 2 minutes of play. 3 or 4 doors, nothing. Wouldn't even look at me. Game ended. I get back in the room. I go, how did I not get kicked out? Like, at least if we're going to lose a game, at least give me that. Like,
yeah.
Or maybe he's waiting for like a 2-1 hockey game and really get you.
Yeah. You know what? We've had him several times since, and I feel like he has he's gotten revenge a few times, but we won't get into that.
Well, what was the line when you go over if like one of those games where it's just horseshit, right? And the coach is trying to do that, and you just like, listen, if I have to be here for this whole thing, you have to be here for this whole thing. Yes. So no matter what you do, you're staying here.
My father said that to Brendan Walsh. Brendan Walsh tried to get kicked out of he said he actually told this story in Spittin' Chicklets. He was trying to get kicked out of a summer league game because the parade was going on. something was going on. And my father's like, if I gotta be here, you have to be here. So like, I guess it opened up. He scored a hat trick. So that's how he got.
I have been kicked out of some youth games, some junior games. So I help a buddy of mine. We run a youth program together in the summer, a tournament team. I have gotten booted out of a few of those games.
Really?
Again, all player safety issues.
Yeah.
And then the guy will look at me and be like, well, what do you even know about hockey? Be like, maybe we shouldn't go down that road.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Ryan Sweeney, he always does it. He's like, we'll be on, and somebody would be yelling and screaming, like, all right, well, this guy's going to be somebody. We'd always look him up, and it's like, oh, this guy played in the NHL. This guy did, it's like, holy shit.
Well, I always tell guys, you never know who's on the bench, who they are, where they came from, what their experience is. So never assume that they're just some,
Joe Schmo, right?
That doesn't know anything.
It goes the other way too.
Yeah.
Like, so I play in a men's league in Westboro, and one of the refs that comes out I believe he played NHL games. Yeah, he played NHL games. He played over in Finland forever. He played like 500 games in the top league in Finland. And my guys, my buddies I played high school hockey with, and like they're sitting there screaming, like, what does this guy know? You're like, what does he even know about hockey? I'm like, well, played 1,000 pro hockey games.
Is he any good? What's his number?
He probably knows what he's doing. Yeah.
No, it's true. You never want to make that assumption. And too many guys do. Danny Chisholm learned the wrong way when he screwed with me.
Yeah.
When he was doing the state tournament game with my girls team. And he, you worry about changing lines and I'll worry about offsides. And I was like, I lost my nothing with him. And but now we've since become great friends. But yeah, you never know.
Like I remember doing a midget game and like it was like nothing happened, and like I called the penalty, and the guy's like, "This game's getting out of control because of you. You don't know what the hell you're talking about." Blah. Meanwhile, I get like 500 American League games under my belt, and I'm just like, it's like, what are you talking? I'm like, are you watching the same thing I'm watching? Like,
I love when they say that. This game's going to get out of hand. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
I've had games out of hand, and they're pro games.
Yeah.
This not going to get out of hand. That's like that guy we talked about with your dad called us both clowns.
Oh yeah, he's not wrong, but
we're doing a U16 game. Well. All right, we are clowns, but not at that moment, all right? But the guy was giving us, just ripping us. And his dad looked at me and said, does he know?
I love when they yell at my father and they say, I'm going to call Gene Binder on you. Yeah. And it's like, oh, are you?
Really? I always say, I can call him for you. I got it on speed dial. I love when they do that.
You can, some of the guys you can tell when they show up with the Easton helmet from the early 2000s that's down on the bridge of their nose and they're stumbling over them. So those are the guys you can get on a little bit.
I wear a Nike bucket. My bucket is just the Nike swoosh, not the Bauer.
I like it.
Just the Nike swoosh. I got it, I think, in Mobile in like 2001. And when kids will start getting, I go, my helmet's older than you, kid. What are you going to tell me? Like, get away from me, you know? And I wear that for I'll never get rid of that helmet. It's broke. I've duct taped it. I've super glued it and everything, and I'm never getting rid of that thing.
It's going to be hector proof.
Well, here's a story. I had to get a new visor, and I can't get the thing on the helmet because the helmet's not made for a visor, right?
Right.
So I bring it to Marlboro, the kid in Marlboro. Yeah. I go, I can't get this thing on with the spaces and everything. Can you help me out? So he goes, yeah. So he puts it on, and your dad's there. It was during one of those junior tournaments,
he used to be the Providence Hendo. Yeah.
And so he says, he grabs your dad, and he goes, hey, one of your refs brought a helmet in to put a visor on. I put it on for him, but I don't know. It doesn't have a sticker on it for, it being approved. And your dad goes, that helmet was never approved.
That sounds like.
And he goes, don't worry about it. I'll give it to him. And, that helmet.
Hender's a beauty.
He was a beauty.
Yeah, he was my guy when I was in Providence. I see him every time I go to the.
So what year were you in Providence? 10, 11?
9, 10.
9, 10?
9, 10, yeah.
So 2000 was Marchand playing?
It would have been the year before I got there.
Okay, so Marchand's last year, he started a line brawl against Portland one night, and like this was like he got called up like right after this game, and just like I don't think he looked back. Yeah, he never came back. But like they put a clinic on. Like McQuaid played, Saboka was on that team.
That's right. Boychuk was on.
Yeah, Boychuk.
I think Rask was in net. Yeah, that was a good hockey team.
But I don't think those guys might have been up on that game. But they were all bounced back and forth. But like I remember, I like look it up every once in a while to see who the hell was on that roster. But there was a scrum, and it was like they were up like 5-1, and I'm like, second period, I'm like, Marsh, will you cut the fucking shit? And he goes, I'm just trying to get back up top, like going nuts. And I'm like, who the fuck is this kid? And I had no idea who he was, and like I think he had a hat trick that game or something.
You didn't check the stat pack.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't read the stat pack.
You weren't doing your research. Yeah,
I was shitting my pants. It was my first game in Providence. I had my whole family there, right? And he goes by the bench, by Portland's bench, and chirps during a line change in the third period. Somebody hops the bench, cross-checks him. I got a line brawl, 7-on-7, because it was during a line change. And it was an absolute shit show.
That's awesome.
Welcome to the league. There you go.
Yeah, here you go, Rook.
Welcome to Providence.
Yeah. Did you get the calls right?
I got most of them right, I think. I look back and I'm like, I don't know.
Did you pull out your notebook and start writing down numbers? Were you one of those guys, or did you remember?
You know what? I threw my notepad away in the USHL because Dave Baker told me, because like I was taking it out every time. He's like, why can't you just figure it out? And I'm like, okay. No, I didn't have a riot pad, but I did pretty good there. Yeah. And I took a bunch of shit from Kevin Deneen because I think they had like a 10-minute power play.
Oh, Jesus.
They played the rest of the game, Sean.
Right, I used it once. It's a somewhat famous story here where I just wrote "I'm fucked" with a smiley face because it was a line brawl, and it was Hampton Roads at Richmond.
Okay,
and held the penalty minute record for 10 years.
Jesus,
yeah, 304 minutes. It was a absolute dumpster fire.
So you must have played with like Winfield, Trent.
Yeah, I played with Trent. He was my line mate that year there.
Oh yeah, he was great to deal with.
Who also
Kurt. Yeah, Kurt started a fight that game.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Yeah, he came in afterwards. I remember him. Yeah,
we had a tough team. That division was insane.
Yeah, you guys did have a tough team.
So we had Brian McGrattan.
Yep.
We had David Ling, who was more crazy than he was. Like, he was tough, but he was a little guy.
Yep.
He was just kind of nuts. I'll never forget. We were playing Manchester at Providence.
They had some tough kids
and,
too.
They had Wes Garth was there.
Yeah, Wes Garth was nuts.
Johnson. They had a
JJ. JJ was awesome. I love that kid.
We're sitting on the bench and plays all the way down at the other end. All of a sudden, you see their guys go nuts. A couple guys in the ice start sprinting back. You turn around and Manchester's goalie just flat on his back, and Linger's just standing there over him. He just decided he wanted to turn around and sucker the goalie. Because even the locker room, the game was getting boring. Yes. Game was getting boring.
Welcome to the minors.
Yeah.
That's a referee's nightmare right there.
Fraser McLaren was in Worcester at that time too.
Oh, Fraser,
Jimmy
yeah.
Bono was in Worcester.
Fraser was big.
Yeah,
Oh, crap.
that division was. I played with. I was on a line with McGrattan for a little bit that year, and Ling.
Okay.
I had carte blanche. I just run around saying whatever I wanted to guys. I go run guys. And just he's right there.
I think JJ fought McGrattan one night. Yeah.
There were some big ones.
Yeah.
Did you ever be involved in a line brawl?
Couple. You mentioned the Chicago Rockford games.
Oh yeah, I have a couple line brawls between those guys.
We
yeah.
had a nasty warm up brawl with them in 07 or 08. But we had some battles with those guys. Yeah. We had one with Syracuse one year, which was a scary one because that was when Morasti was there. I think I'm blanking. Konopka was there. Zenon Konopka, who was tough. And insane as well. Kevin Harvey was there. Like that team was scary. That was not a team you wanted to get into a warm-up brawl
Right.
with nobody to back it up. But no, there was some good ones. Full bench clear in junior. To this day, one of the nastiest and hardest punches I've ever seen thrown was our backup goalie. And the fight had been going on for a little while, so I was not sure where he came from. And it's on an old VHS tape, so I'll date myself. I've still got it. But you see their goalie, one of their goalies is standing in the middle of the ice looking for somebody, and our backup just comes full tilt, hits him full stride directly in the nose. Their goalie gets like probably 5 feet off the ice. He's parallel with the ice and just boom, thumps.
Awesome.
It was, yeah. So
I've
been involved in a couple of them.
Now you played in the Q.
Yeah.
And they are trying to get rid of fighting.
They have.
They did.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about this with Paul Stewart. We talked about it with Dougie Smith. We talked about it with everyone. Fighting in hockey. It's kind of like they're trying to push it out.
It's got to be there.
It's got to be there.
It's got to be there.
Thank you.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. But as a coach, former player and a coach, you think it has a place?
I think it has a place. The game has always naturally policed itself. When you guys can't do your jobs, the game. No, but the game has always naturally policed itself, and now you don't have like your old school goon tough guys out there anymore, and they have put enough rules in place that it really has to be a part of the game. Like we have a rule now: you can't fight off the face-off.
Right.
If
no stage fighting. Yeah.
If the puck drops, you can't turn around, drop your gloves. You're gone. That's a game. You have to make a hockey play before you start the fight. So if the face-off is won, you got to at least go in, try and help your center, then you can turn around. But little things like that, we're down to 2 fights per game and you're out instead of the 3.
Okay.
So they've put rules in that make it really is, and it's got to be a part of the game. A nasty hit, you're standing up for your teammate. I think that's when you need it.
Right.
You don't really get like the we need momentum fights kind of thing anymore. But I think you do. You need it, or your Bedards of the world and your high skilled guys are not going to have the protection they need. It's going to be open season.
I agree with that.
100%.
And players are going to get hurt. So I do think it has a place in the game. I think the controlled version of it is better, but I think it has a place for sure.
Right.
Like I remember being in the American East Coast League, like you just felt the game on edge, right? And it was about to explode at any moment. And then you just had that one fight and it just kind of settled things down. Or it just,
We had one down in Florida. We had a guy on our team hit a guy. He ended up getting suspended for it. He hit a guy. There was no call on the play. And they've got a pretty tough guy down there. He came over and my guy's not going to fight him.
Right.
But I told him, I was like, in between periods, I go, man, you probably got to stand up for yourself. Like you got to do something about
Answer
it.
the bell.
It's your call, but you're probably going to have to, or the game will get out of hand. And he handled himself fine. He went out and it was a good fight, and that was it. Game was normal after that point.
Right.
It completely calmed down.
Is it still like, okay, if you're not going to go, someone's going to pay for you, and you better answer the bell still? Or
that was the exact words that their guy used. It was, if it's not him, I'm going after him. And he pointed at the scorer. And it's like, well, all right, well, please go do something.
Yeah,
We just
exactly.
lost 3 of our leading scorers to injuries. We don't need to do it again. But it did. It squashed everything within the rules, and the game settled down, and it was a hockey game for the next 2 periods. And then we played them again the next night, and there was no nonsense going forward.
Right.
I didn't love the call, but the league suspended him for 1 game. I think it was a smart decision because, again, it cooled things down.
It put it to bed because if not, it's just going to fester. It's just going to be for the rest of been there, 3-game series.
And I understood it. That was, the explanation was what it was. I didn't necessarily agree with it, but at the same time, I think, the league's doing what they need to do to protect the players here, and I respect that.
I mean, you explained it earlier. So, like the last 3 games, you get 3-game series with each one. So the league still does 3-game series a lot. I like it.
It's travel cost stuff.
Right.
It's cheaper to just come in, play 3 games than it is to go.
But
back
do you still have? But I actually enjoy it because 9-period hockey game, right? And 9, like you normally have the same referee, or are they in and out?
It depends. Some weekends it'll be the same guy for like 2, and then the third game somebody else, or somebody might join him. That might be
right, yeah.
And like this past weekend, we had one the first night, they switched to another one the second night, and then he had a partner for the third night. I know in the playoffs they tend to keep the same crew with the series as well at times.
Really?
I always wondered about that, but I do think it allows them to keep a pulse on.
We do it in college, but I remember being in pros. If you did game 1, you would do it like game 1, 3, 5, and 7.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was like 2 crews that they had in something like that.
Like you would never do like back-to-back games like game 1 and 2. You would do like 1, 3, 5.
I think in the coast they will because again it's travel.
Yeah,
stuff, right. It's a minor league. It costs money to bring guys in and out, and I think that's what it comes down to. But at the same time, I think they at least have an idea. This is how last game went. These are the guys on the roster.
I used to like it. Like you fly into Utah, you get the 3 games, and you're there and everybody knows the the communication's open. And then, hey, I was here last night. It's not like, hey, the guy last night didn't call that. It's like, well, that was me.
I used to hate that. Well, it wasn't a penalty last week.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I always would say,
I was there
last week. Was he really good looking? Because if he wasn't, that wasn't me. Because I was a dick.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
I think we see more guys because of our location as well.
Yeah,
because we see. True. I mean, we see some of your guys.
Yeah, you see a bunch of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we get guys that do all the college games. They'll be up in Maine doing games. They can be in the American League in Bridgeport and Hartford and Springfield doing games as well. So we as because of our location see a ton of different guys. So we'll rotate more probably than your Utahs, your Rapid Cities, the guys that are a little more on an island.
Yeah, you see most of the linesmen that work for us, and 1 or 2 referees here and there. Like you'll see Evan Reddick.
Yep, yeah. We've had Evan a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good kid.
First year.
One of the linesmen. I was listening to one of your episodes on the way here. The one you guys had Doug the Thug on. You were talking about Connor
Foley. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He lines some of our games as well.
Yeah. So he's backing up. Yeah, he's backing up this weekend. NCAA's.
Yeah. I think he was.
The try, really.
Yeah, I tried to get him.
Maybe I think it's his number. Yeah, you learn the refs' numbers by the end of the year too.
Yeah.
We need to get him in the American League.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's good.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's really
young
good.
kid. Yeah.
How old is he?
He's like 21, 22.
Oh, he's young. Okay.
Yeah, he's really
just
young.
finished up school, didn't he?
Yep.
Was it Aaron Brothers' boy?
Oh yeah, he's been with us since he was like, his sister worked. Yeah.
Nice.
No, we're big fans of his.
Yeah,
for sure. So we thought we're getting close to wrapping things up. We thought maybe we could end on something kind of lighter, kind of fun, kind of get to know you a little more, kind of get to know, get our perspective too. Our producer, Josh Dolan, who who you know really well from Worcester and the Radio Connection and all that stuff. By the way, we're going to do a podcast live at the DCU Center.
Oh, awesome.
We're planning on doing that before a Railers game.
Oh, that would be unbelievable.
We're going to do it before a game, and maybe the one we ref. And no, we'll be in the.
You guys can do that. Is that going to be this season?
We're hoping to do it.
Yeah, we're hoping to do it. Yeah.
We got 5 more home games coming up. So
hopefully we can grab one of them and do a.
Any good weekday games?
When this 2 days from now is tomorrow's Tuesday. Yeah, 2 days from now will be our last Wednesday game.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're Wednesday, Friday, Saturday this week at home, and then I think we may be Friday in Maine, Saturday, Sunday at home, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Maine.
The following weekend we can make.
Yeah, we'll do a Saturday or Sunday game. We'll go and before
that's the off weekend before the regionals and the Frozen Four.
There you go.
Maybe we can get some of your players or something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure we can probably work.
We'll definitely make
get a couple of the scratches.
Sure.
Maybe get Bobby Butler on.
He's usually kicking around. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So Josh got some questions for us.
Okay.
Simple questions. Nothing too heavy. And I thought we'd just kick some questions around. No mic, so Josh doesn't have a mic. That's okay. I'll repeat them if I need to.
Favorite non-hockey sporting moment?
Favorite non-hockey sporting moment? I'll go because I know what mine is. I hit a 100-foot putt for $5,000 at a golf tournament for Dedham Youth Hockey. No shit. At the turn, you had to hit a 25-footer.
No kidding.
After the round, you had to hit a 50-footer. And then after we had the banquet, the dinner, and all that stuff, we all went out and it was a 100-foot putt. And it was me and one other guy. And we decided if we both hit it, we'd split it, right? And I went first. And it was a circus putt. It went right, it went left, it came up, it came down. My brother, my father, everyone's there, right? Because I played for Dedham Youth Hockey. And I hit it, cleared my mind of all thought, hit the ball, and it went and in. And this big, huge, fat guy came out, grabbed me, and would have me up over his shoulder like this. It was nuts. And I got one of those giant checks.
Happy Gilmore.
It was fucking awesome. So that's mine. I know that's mine. Was that a non-sporting moment or sporting?
Is this a personal non-sporting moment or like something
non-sporting.
that happened like
I don't know. Mark just made it about himself.
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
I'm good at that. All right? You got to play to your strengths. Non-sporting. I thought you said
I
sport,
don't know. That
non-hockey.
Patriot comeback is pretty up
Wait a
there.
minute. I had non-hockey in my head. That's what I thought.
I think I like your answer.
That's what he asked.
I do like your
You
answer.
said non-hockey.
Non-hockey sporting events.
Oh, good. So I didn't fuck it up. I was giving you guys time to think, you bastards. I thought I knew mine right away.
Well, you pretzeled me because now I'm trying to think of have I accomplished anything else athletically not in hockey?
Yeah,
the
right.
answer is no. Disc golf. That's fair. I did try some disc golf. I was not very good at that. So I won a high school championship in baseball. So that might be it for me at the Bancroft School in Worcester. Yeah.
Assistant coach, D3 state champions, Cohasset High.
All right.
You were assistant.
Assistant coach.
No kidding.
Yep.
There you go.
All right.
I didn't know a goddamn thing about it, but he checked in and bounced.
Yeah, it was hockey though.
No, it was lacrosse.
Oh, lacrosse.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear you say
Yeah, I was the
lacrosse.
JV coach. I was the head JV coach.
No
And
kidding.
then I was the assistant for the varsity. So
There you go.
Was I reffing back then?
no, you weren't. No, I was with Stu Curran, God rest his soul.
Stewie.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
Great
was
guy.
a great human.
yeah.
So he coached me at BC High, and
Right.
then he found out after I graduated college, he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I go, "Reffing hockey." He goes, "You want to coach?" I go, "Absolutely."
That's awesome.
I know it's your podcast. I do have one question for you guys. A refereeing
Absolutely.
situation.
Yes, I like it.
State championship game.
Oh,
we
discussed it.
tune in next
Did you?
week.
Okay, all right. I'll listen. I'll listen. Don't waste any more time. I want to.
Well, we broke it down actually.
We broke it down.
All right, my brother's from Winchester.
Yeah.
So he's
got
got
fucked.
younger
Yeah, they
kids.
got-
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
They
That's
got
the short
fucked.
answer.
I
All right,
mean,
good.
bottom line, they got screwed. But, again, like we talked about, it's human error. There was a lot of things that could have been done better. But you know what? It is what it is. And, you got to watch that.
I'll go back and
Episode
listen
10.
for sure.
Episode 10.
10.
It should be coming out hopefully soon. Episode 9 come out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, by the time this plays, it'll be like, I don't know when it will be. So anyway, but yeah.
Sorry to interrupt there. I had to ask.
It's a great question.
So yeah,
It's a great
I have
question.
not had referees to ask that question. So
It wasn't good.
Yeah.
But it also is something that could happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like you had a veteran guy on the lines, right? Like on the goal line, and
Yeah.
guys have been around forever. It just anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yep. And the MIA is, you can't not blame them some for being in a building that has replay and not using it.
And not have goal judges.
And not have goal judges. So like, there's multiple people were at fault, but at the end of the day, it's it is what it is because it's human error.
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
mean,
Josh.
NHL guys fuck up more than that.
Didn't mean to put you on a
Yeah.
line.
Yeah, this podcast goes off the rails quite a bit.
Quite a bit. There you go. Right.
All right, let's get away from sports here for a little bit. Favorite TV show of all time?
Favorite TV show of all time. Seinfeld. For me.
I gotta say Seinfeld too.
Seinfeld's on there.
Cheers.
It was a mini series with Band of Brothers on HBO.
Oh, that was
good.
really
That one
good.
was unbelievable.
That was really good.
That was really
And
good.
then The Unit on HBO was another one I really liked.
Unit.
So,
Okay.
but Seinfeld is
Seinfeld's.
Seinfeld's good.
Seinfeld
2.5
stuff like-
Men.
2.5 Men's good.
My brother-in-law worked on that show.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
There's a few out there, but
Seinfeld.
Cheers, MASH. See, I'm older than you guys, so
But that was always late night Fox. Like I'd have my little antenna
Yeah.
TV in my room that would be on at like 1 a.m. when I couldn't sleep.
All right,
That
so
was-
quick MASH story. So I lived in Omaha, Nebraska in the USHL, and my roommate was Wild Bill McGoldrick and John Shaw. So Wild Bill, like, he treated it like he was still in fucking college. Like, he would get up, have his coffee, lay on the couch with a blanket and a pillow, and play reruns of MASH all day. So, like, I would get up and hear. So, like, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to the fucking gym. And at one point, me and my roommate had enough of it. So we were like, fuck this. We put a block on the channel with MASH. And then we went to the gym. We got up before him. Never told him. So, like, he got up, like, he's futzing around with the thing. And I'm like, we got out of there for a couple hours. He's on the phone with Comcast and this and that.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know what's wrong with it. We just put a block on the channel.
That is fucking awesome. That is awesome.
How many reruns of MASH? How many seasons did they have?
I don't know.
Oh,
He watched them all.
Boatload.
Jesus.
They had a boatload.
Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious.
That's good.
I'm glad you made it all about you.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking the Joe Carter home run, like the best non-hockey sports moment, but I was there
It would've been
for
the
it.
Cubs World Series
That-
for me. That was
Cubs World Series. All right. Yeah. No, there's plenty of them. I just had my putt.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
If
I actually have
if
a
I
video.
hit a 100-foot putt, I'd work that into
Hey,
conversation too.
you would've
No,
said
but
that.
nothing. There is a video of it because they had a video, right?
Yeah,
Neil
to
Cronin.
prove it, yeah.
Neil Cronin.
Yeah.
No shit.
I met him in kindergarten. He's a ref,
Yeah.
Dedham cop, and they had a video it for because it was insured. So you couldn't say, "Hey, my buddy hit it," right?
Yeah, right.
So there's a video of it. It shows the putt going, and as soon as it goes in, the video cuts out because everyone goes fucking bananas. And he was video, and he fucking threw the camera to come high five me. I digress.
So there's still no proof.
No, there's video. I have it. I'm gonna send it to
He
you
said he
tonight.
threw it as it went in. I don't know if that.
I was gonna go with favorite band of interest. Band you love, but you feel like you would be judged if other people found it. Like mine would be
So band you love, but you'd be judged. Yours is Nickelback. Well, I mean, I am a Swiftie. I'll be honest with you. I think
Really?
she's brilliant.
That did
I-
pop into
I was
my
at the
head.
rain show.
She's brilliant.
Were you? All right. Good for you.
Yeah, my brother-in-law works for the Pats, so we got,
Yeah.
hooked up.
She is like talented and the real deal. So I guess I'd probably be judged for that. Bon Jovi's my all-time favorite.
I would have to say Miley Cyrus. I don't know.
Miley Cyrus.
No, why not?
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, that was awesome when they played in the rinks.
Yeah, that's
think of
true.
one. I can't think of one offhand here. I was going to go Taylor Swift. You got
Yeah.
to take it from me, but that might be it.
Swifties.
I don't think
All
anybody
right.
nobody judges you for that these days.
Smoothie's a Swiftie.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Who knew?
How about that?
Favorite band? I'm a Shinedown guy. Yeah, big Shinedown guy.
All right.
I'm going U2.
All right. Pearl Jam.
It's a
But
good
Bon
one.
Jovi, I mean, I don't know. This John Bon Jovi is just, I love that man. I'm man enough to admit I love that man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of like Tom Brady. I mean, he's a guy that you just, when Tom Brady was with Giselle,
The
come
GOAT.
on, you jump in that bed, don't matter what side you land on, you're having fun. All right? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? But I digress.
what brainless activity that's not hockey, comedy, podcast, like you just getting away. What activity do you like to do?
What activity do I like to do?
You don't have a life outside of hockey.
There's
That's a really tough question.
there's an easy masturbation joke here, but I'm not going to make it. I guess TV. I like watching TV. I like sitting down and just, watching TV.
I wouldn't say it's brainless, but I'm kind of like a 90-year-old man in the morning. I get up, I like to have my coffee and do a crossword. I think that would be, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
No, never really got into the Wordle thing. I'll do the quick cross. But I always my trainers back in the day when you couldn't do these things on your phones would always print out the USA Today crossword for me and throw it on a clipboard with a pencil when I come in the room. I'd sit in the trainer's room with my hot packs and my coffee, and I'd try and finish the crossword. So yeah, that's
I would do the Sudoku, yeah, before games, yeah. We'll sit there and do Sudoku.
Favorite female actor?
favorite female actress.
Oh,
Well, there's a
I got
list.
one.
Jennifer Aniston. No hesitation.
I always had a Rachel McAdams crush. Good Girl Next Door look for me. That always.
Okay.
That was Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I've been talking about my brother-in-law a lot on this freaking podcast, but so he lived out in LA and he was actually at a party with her. And right after she had a baby, I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, you were in a, like you had a conversation with Jennifer Love Hewitt. I was like, it's incredible.
It is.
All right, this one is kind of back to hockey, but do you guys have any advice for Smoothie on chirping the refs? Because he needs to get a.
Oh, chirping the refs.
Mm.
Under the skin? I mean, there's. I mean, there's. Yeah, I know. Well, I told one ref to call 1-800-JENNY-CRAIG because he couldn't bend over to pick the puck up. And I don't know how I didn't get a penalty. I didn't get a bench minor.
It was just don't get personal.
U16 girls.
I threw one out there like 4 games ago that 3 of the guys on the bench, after I said it, turned around, looked, and they go, I can't believe you didn't throw it out. I won't repeat it, but
Right.
yeah, that's I've come close.
I mean,
I get personal. Like if you get personal, like that's when you get the.
Yeah, I should have got thrown out for that one.
I hate when like the
It's kind of the unwritten rule, though. Like you don't go personal. You never went personal as a player.
No,
really.
right?
Like
Yeah, exactly.
you left that stuff on the side.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I hate when they're like, wake up, wake up. I'm like, what am I awake? Like, you don't want me to wake up. If I wake up, you guys might be in some trouble.
Oh, you owe me one.
I owe you shit.
Yeah, I owe the bank.
Yeah.
I don't owe you.
So being kids, favorite New England vacation spot.
What?
I'm going to be very boring and say the Cape.
All right.
I'm not a Cape guy. I can't deal with the traffic.
Traffic's
I
brutal.
can't. I just can't do it.
Brutal. I like the OOB,
Mhm.
Old Orchard Beach.
That's a good spot. I like going up. I like Stowe, Vermont.
All right.
I like
All right.
getting up there in
Now,
the summer. Yeah.
the cool thing about Old Orchard Beach is when you go, if they put you in the right hotel, about 8 o'clock in the morning, a 3-mile long freight train might go roaring by. It'll vibrate your bed clear across the room.
Oh, that got me in Reading 2 nights
Yeah.
ago. That goes right through the city there. And
You know what you do though? What I did, I just grabbed a hold of myself, figured let the train do the work.
Yeah, right.
Was 3 cars short. Next question.
We'll be at a softball event Friday night. or a bowling alley.
I'd like to say that wasn't a true story. Save me a couple quarters. Go ahead.
All right, since Smoothie was going to be crap about not inviting him in. Favorite food.
Oh, favorite food. Eggplant palm.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So give me a burrito any day.
All right.
I have to go chicken palm, I think.
Oh, chicken palm too, yeah.
That was like my go-to before games.
I don't have the accent to claim one of those and make it sound better than it does. So I
Chicken
can't join you guys in that one. Yes. Yeah.
You're from Boston, but not Boston,
Yeah.
right?
Talk very lazy.
What was it, Westboro?
So we moved to West Point when I was like 12. I grew up in upstate New York.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The pleasure
All right,
of
so-
living in Binghamton, right next to Elmira, the place we were talking about earlier.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So that's why you don't sound like us.
That's it. Yeah.
Man, that's not a bad
That's why
thing.
it's chicken parm to me. It just does not sound as appetizing as when you guys say it.
One of the referees that they did a D3 playoff game up there. They're like, "What's there to do in Elmira?" I go, "Nothing." I was like, "Absolutely nothing." And I sent them like a little spaghetti joint that was like around the corner in like this like neighborhood. I was like, I can't believe it's still there.
We got carbon monoxide poisoning from our bus on the way down on that trip. We had a sleeper for that trip too. That was bad. Yeah.
Jesus. That's a rough go.
All right. You good, girl? 2 more. Favorite movie.
Favorite well, all right, Slapshot, but if you're going
None.
non-hockey,
Non-hockey.
all right, non-hockey.
Let's go nuts.
Comedy-wise, I got to go Caddyshack,
It's a good one.
Those have to be on there.
you know? Animal House.
Major League for me.
Yeah,
Major
Major
League.
League definitely.
That's a
Major
good
League
one.
one. Lou Brown is one of my favorite movie characters of all time. I think he's absolutely hilarious. I wish I could have a few one-liners like he does.
Yeah,
Major League for me is a comedy. Good Will Hunting, I think, is up there for me.
Good Will Hunting.
Overall,
That's a
Town.
great one.
The
The
Town's
Town's good.
Yep.
Few Good Men.
Mm.
It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Talk about a cast, right? Forrest Gump,
It's a good one.
right?
Yeah.
Rain Man. I do a good Rain Man. I won't do it right now, but
I mean, I do.
you guys seem to be
Comedy.
annoyed with
I like Animal House. That's right up there.
Animal
I mean, that's
House
a
is up
classic.
there. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And, all right, this one isn't like a outside of hockey question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. The last one, as a coach, what's the craziest thing you've done behind the bench? Because last week we were talking about torts and coaches losing their mind, and I mean, you like you said, contained it, but I saw you lose your shit a little bit at the ice cap. It was icing that wasn't called or something.
Yeah. Well, actually, funny enough, I had one of those the other night. So there was a goal called back against us that I really didn't agree with, and it was a goal on the ice. The video was down. They ended up taking it from us, and I didn't react in the moment, but there was like an absolutely unrelated, nothing icing call where like the guy didn't get to the red by like 6 inches, and I just lost it. It was like pent up from the other call, and I just go, like, it's icing, you fucking idiot, and screamed across. And the rink was dead silent at the time. My assistant coach shows me, he looks at me, he goes, "You should probably apologize for that one." I go,
How'd they call it? How'd they call it back?
yeah, that I won't get into that one. We ended up winning the game. Did not affect the game, so it was
right.
okay.
But if you don't have replay and you call it a goal, how are you calling it back?
Well, the call, yes, has to see it, right?
Right. If you don't have
The linesman
replay,
has
That's-
something different.
That's what we thought too. But no, and then I had an embarrassing one. It may have been the Ice Cats game. I was yelling about something, and I had a towel in my hand, and I threw the towel as hard as I could. It went about. Towels don't go very far.
No,
It goes about 5 feet.
you throw your shoulder out.
That was it. My thumb was numb for like the next 5 minutes, and I'm watching the video back the next day, and in my head, when I threw it, it went. Like in my head, this thing landed like inside the face-off circle.
Awesome.
And I'm watching the video. I'm watching the scrum because I wanted something called on. I was going to clip it to send in for review. And in the very corner of the video, you see the blue line is like right here. And the towel just limps over the blue line. It just comes and lands. It's just the saddest, most pathetic thing. And the guys in the bench are turning around looking at me like, really? You thought that was going to do something? Yeah. So that's
awesome.
up there.
Don't incriminate yourself. Keep that one.
Yeah. One of the guys picked it up for me before the ref saw it, so it was good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
As a coach, my craziest thing was with Luke Allen when we were coaching the Harbor Wolves,
yeah.
the Matty O'Neill Club. We were down in New York for a tournament, and it was a bad job. The New York guys were killing, we were shorthanded like the whole game. So Luke ends up getting thrown out, and the rink we were at had a wall behind it, and the door out to the locker rooms was right in the middle of the wall behind the bench. So Luke gets thrown out, leaves, and then comes back, and he's standing behind me. And the ref came over and he goes, "He can't be on the bench." And I went, "Who?" And he goes, "Him." And I turn this way, and Luke would slide out this way. And I go, and then I do that, and he do the same. And I go, "I don't know who you're talking about. What are you talking about? I think you're losing your mind." And he this went on for probably a good minute and a half, 2 minutes, until I turn and I go, "Wow, where'd you come from?" He's been there the whole time. And that guy, I don't know how I didn't get thrown. I should have got thrown out. It was hilarious though. All the college scouts up on the top some were annoyed, some were pissing their pants laughing.
That's awesome.
That's the craziest thing I ever did. So, was that it? That's all the questions?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I don't have any crazy things behind the bench yet.
Oh, I guarantee you're going to lose your fucking mind.
I was on the bench for two periods that I had to fill in, and like there was one girl that was two body checks, and then I got on the bench. She threw a body check, and I went, "Hey!" And I was, "Change them up, let's go!" I just caught myself, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Next year, over under 10 games for you to get.
Oh my god! Like it was just a reaction,
yeah.
right? It was like
I'm betting
the girl going to get the puck, and she just gets smoked, and I'm like,
I'm betting the under.
But what I did say to the kid, he was a new referee, and I go, "Listen," I go, "I knew you didn't want to call it, because like even if you do call it, you just change up anyway, right? But you have to acknowledge it." And I go, "But go over and say something, right?
Yeah.
Go over and talk to the
Communicate.
girl.
That's where we started.
Communicate. There you go.
Yeah.
Bring it all
Back to
back.
communication.
Exactly. That's all it really.
That's
just
it.
address it, right? Like,
Yep.
"Oh, I saw it, but do we really need to call it?" I'm addressing, telling her no, and then she'll come back out and not do it. That's what you hope.
I'm calling DraftKings.
Mm.
10 games. I'm betting the under for a bench minor.
The over
next
under.
year.
I can't wait. Well,
I guarantee it.
Well, I can't wait for like the first time there's like a controversial call and it goes our way, and they're like, "Well, he assigns the refs and this and that." Hey, what do you want me to do?
Well, yeah. No,
Yeah. So I might just be one of those volunteer assistants for the practice.
You might have to get thrown out once just to make it look legit.
Stage it
Right?
before the game. Yeah.
I'll do your game and throw you out. I don't give a shit.
We'll have Aldo do it.
You won't be able to keep a straight face, though. That's the problem.
No, I won't. I won't be able to.
All right.
I won't be able to. Yeah, I'll go over and give you my whistle.
So like when I played at BC High, like Jimmy Doyle used to come over the bench and he would be like, if I hear another word out of 14 again, yeah. Right? And I'm like, this ain't nothing. He just go over and just bust my balls. And I'm like, don't you like light me up? Like
one of you asked one of the craziest things I've seen was this is my buddy who helps me run the program this summer. He was a former Worcester Railer. Ref comes over and is yelling at him on the bench, tees him up, gives him a bench minor. He gets off the bench, opens the door, walks onto the ice, and goes and walks in the penalty box.
Oh.
Ref comes over and starts yelling. He goes, one of my guys isn't sitting in here for my fucking penalty, and he's losing it on him. He eventually throws him out of the game.
Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I never had that one.
Forgot about that one.
ask Chris Henry about that one. He had that one.
Yeah, he did. He had it in Walpole, I think,
Yeah.
right? That's right.
It's a longer walk in pro though, because you got to go across the ice.
Oh yeah.
That would make a statement, and that's
Yep.
probably a 10-game suspension, I would assume.
Listen, when you get thrown out, you make that walk across the ice every single time. In all the games I got thrown out,
Even if we have a tunnel,
Doesn't
instead
matter.
of go down to the Zamboni door.
right across the ice. You take that walk of shame right across the ice.
Ryan Riley at Army, every period, like he could literally walk off his bench and walk right down the alley, and his locker was on the left.
That's
Longest wrap up ever.
Yeah. Well,
15 minutes to get out of here.
I'll tell you what, we got merch finally came in, and by the time this airs, our website will be up and going. This is the quarter zip. Got the zebra on the sleeve. We got one for you, Jordan.
Awesome.
So, but we want to thank our sponsors again before we sign off. Referees Crease, and also Moby Cuts and AOA Studios is always greatest place here. All the guys here are awesome. And Josh Dolan, our producer, and Jordan Smotherman, our guest tonight. And good luck in the playoffs the rest of the way. Go Railers, right?
Right on.
And we'll see you next time right here. Chirping Zebras. Remember, like and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. We need those subscriptions.
And if anybody wants to sponsor a ref podcast, reach out.
Oh, absolutely. And if you have any comments, throw them in the comments section there. And find us on all the social medias. We're out there.
Chirp us.
And chirp us, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty, that was good by you.
Yeah.
I like that.
I turned it around.
See you next time. Chirping Zebras.